Hi, I'm Stephanie Jaworski of joybaking.com. Today we're going to make chocolate banana cupcakes with a delicious chocolate fudge frosting. So preheat your oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit, that's 180 degrees Celsius, and then we need a 12-cup muffin pan, and you can either butter it or spray it with a non-stick vegetable spray, or I'm just lining it with these paper liners. And then this is a really easy batter to make. Just 2 bowls, one for the dry ingredients and one for the wet. We mix it together and we're done. So it's really simple. So let's start with the dry. 1 cup, 130 grams of white all-purpose flour, and 1 cup of granulated white sugar, that's 200 grams. 1/3 of a cup, 35 grams of cocoa powder. And you can use either the unsweetened cocoa powder or the Dutch process, either one. And then we need 3/4 of a teaspoon of baking soda, 3/4 of a teaspoon of baking powder, and 1/4 of a teaspoon of salt. And I'm just going to whisk these all together. Simple enough to do that. Okay, and then for the wet ingredients, we need 1 banana, and as you can see, you want a very ripe banana, lots of brown, because that's when you get the real sweet flavor of the banana. When they're all yellow, they don't have as much taste as when they ripen. So I'm just using a fork to mash it. Now, these cupcakes don't have any butter. Instead, we're using oil and some milk and water. So what we're going to have is a really moist and light and airy cupcake. It's kind of spongy. So what's good is if you want to put these in the refrigerator, they will stay soft. Plus, they will last a lot longer. A lot of times cupcakes get dry after a day. These don't. These will last maybe 5 days, which is really great. You can make them ahead of time for a party. Okay, so I've done that. So now I'm going to add 1 large egg. And then I'm just going to whisk that in, break it up. And to that, I'm going to add 1/2 cup, which is 120 milliliters of water, and just warm it up a bit to get the edge off of it, because it's always so cold when you get it from the tap. And then 1/4 of a cup, that's 60 milliliters of oil. Now you can use any flavorless oil, corn oil, canola, safflower or vegetable, even a light olive oil if you'd like. And then 1/4 of a cup, that's 60 milliliters of milk. And you can use any type, a whole, 2%, even skim. And just leave that out so it comes to room temperature. And last, 3/4 of a teaspoon of vanilla extract. And try to use the pure because it has better flavor than the artificial ones. And then just whisk all that together. So then I'm just going to make a little well in the center of my dry. And just pour all your wet ingredients in there. And mix it together. What's really nice is the cupcakes have cocoa powder, which is one type of chocolate, and then for the frosting, we're going to use melted semi-sweet chocolate, so it's a really nice pairing of the different types. Okay, and you only want to mix that until everything's all together. Now this batter is quite thin, so don't worry if you notice that. It's the way it should be. So I'm just using an ice cream scoop, or you could use a spoon, or you could just put it into a large measuring cup and just pour. So just evenly divide your batter. Okay, so that's it, simple enough. So into the oven, 18 to 20 minutes, or until a toothpick inserted in the center of one comes out clean. Okay, our chocolate banana cupcakes are now done. As you can see, they've got nice rise to them, and a toothpick inserted in the center will come out clean. So I'm just going to let these sit until they're completely cooled, and then we'll make the chocolate fudge frosting. So our chocolate banana cupcakes have now completely cooled, and now we're going to start the chocolate fudge frosting. For the frosting, you first need to melt 3 ounces, that's 90 grams, of unsweetened chocolate, which you may know it as bitter or plain. This is chocolate with no sugar in it. And I've just melted it in a heat-proof bowl over a saucepan of simmering water, or you could just do it in the microwave. And just let that cool to room temperature. And then we're going to take 1/2 cup, which is 113 grams of butter, and have that at room temperature. And I like to use the unsalted, but you can use salted if you'd like. And try to use a good quality butter, because the better the butter, the better the frosting will taste. And then I'm just use the paddle attachment, or you could just use a hand mixer if you want. I'm just going to beat this until it's nice and creamy and smooth. Okay, scrape down the sides. And to that, I'm just going to add 1 cup, which is about 120 grams of confectioner's sugar. You may know it as either powdered or icing. And I've sifted this because you want to get rid of all the lumps, because you want this frosting to be nice and smooth. And confectioner's sugar has a tendency to have lumps in it. Okay, so now I'm just going to beat this on medium-high speed until it's light and fluffy. That'll take a couple minutes. Okay. Scrape down the sides if you need to. You want to make sure that all that sugar is mixed into the butter. Scrape down the sides here. Now 1 teaspoon of pure vanilla extract, and I'm just going to beat that in. Scrape down the sides. And finally fold in that melted chocolate that has cooled. And you want to make sure it's cool, because if it was too warm, then you're going to melt the butter and the sugar, which we don't want. And we're going to beat this for a couple minutes on medium-high speed, because we want to get some air. Make this really nice and light and fluffy. So if you want, you can even pipe this on the top of the cupcakes. And it will lighten in color, which will contrast really nice to the dark chocolate cupcakes. So. Scrape down the sides, make sure all that chocolate is mixed in. Okay. So as you can see, this is really nice and thick, and it's lightened quite a bit in color. So to decorate your cupcakes, for the family or just for casual, I tend to just spread, take a knife or a little offset spatula, and just spread it on like so. That way you can control, you don't get too much icing, and you just get enough cupcake icing. But of course, we do like, if you want to do them like in the cupcake shops with the swirls, you take a pastry bag, and you can, this one you can wash. There is ones, plastic ones that are, you can just throw away. And then I'm using a star tip. It's a 1M Wilton. And you just, has a coupler, and you put the tip on top of there, and just put it in your bag. And then you got the top. That will hold your tip in place. Screw that on. And just fold down the top. And if you like, you could put this in a glass to kind of hold it. Or you can just kind of fold it back and hold it with your hand. And just put your frosting in there. If you're a frosting person, then this is probably how you want to do it, because you get lots of frosting on each cupcake. So, put it in, and then just squeeze all the frosting down to the end. Make sure you get all the air out of the bag. And then once you've squeezed it all down, and you can see it comes up, just twist, and then hold it with your hand, and then use your other hand as a guide. And I'm just going to pipe with even pressure. That takes a little practice, I know, but good thing is if you didn't like it, you could just scrape it off, put it back in the bag, and keep trying. So just even pressure all the way around. And then when you're ready, just ease off on the pressure and go straight up. And put as much or as little as you like on each one. If you want sprinkles, you could put sprinkles on the top. Okay. Now, like I said, these can be covered and stored for, I would say, 4 or 5 days. I like to store them in the freezer or in the refrigerator, especially if you're in a warm climate. So until next time, I'm Stephanie Jaworski of joybaking.com.